Then at the end, I watched the owner hand her cash in a napkin. And I went, is there no one managing you? And she was like, no, well, there's a lot of us bloggers here in Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
But it's all very casual and informal at the minute.
Okay.
There's management agencies in Dublin and in London and all around, but not so much here yet.
Okay.
I went, right, let's change that.
Welcome to today's podcast. Today I am joined by Francesca Morelli, who co-founded VAVA Influence and is also the director. Thank you so much for coming on, Francesca.
Thanks so much for having me. Lovely to be here.
Yeah. So tell us a bit about your business and what it is.
VAVA Influence aims to connect social media influencers with business owners and vice versa. So if a business owner decides they want to work with social media influencers, then they come to us and we manage the process for them. So we matchmake and find the right influencer for them, and we form and then deliver the campaigns.
I know. And what's it been like since you've started, like with lockdown? Like everybody's on their phones more. Do you know, some businesses are thriving and some businesses aren't so much. How have you found the past 12 months?
So it's been strange. We found that when the whole world initially went into lockdown, there was a lot of anxious feelings towards messaging, and people were very aware of the content they were putting out. So initially we found it a little bit quiet. People wanted to be very cautious, which is completely understandable. The world is and was a scary place. However, now people have very much warmed up to the idea of this is a new method of marketing. Well, fairly new. It certainly is slightly more new here than anywhere else. And they found now that it is so effective in getting in front of people on social media in new ways. So people have really warmed to the idea, and they're much more open to investing in it now, more so than the beginning of the lockdown.
Yeah, I think so as well. Like I definitely think there has been a massive intake in like online and getting online and digital.
Absolutely, yeah. Northern Ireland business every single day. It's a Facebook group, and every day there's somebody on it looking for a digital media manager or social media influencers. You've really seen a massive influx of inquiries.
We get tagged so many by our own clients and by like my friends and everything. I keep getting tagged in those all the time.
It's very flattering.
Yeah, it's great.
Lovely.
I look at them and I'm like, oh my God. It's overwhelming at times. So bring us back to the start then. So what did you do in college, for example, or where did you go to university? Just how did you get into the business that you're in right now?
Yeah, so I'm actually only graduated not even 2 years. I went to Queen's and did international business with French. As part of my degree, I had to go to France to complete a placement. So I actually went to Paris and worked in a startup studio. So that's a model that isn't actually all that known or used here. It's basically where you have sort of one investor and one major founder, and he invests in sort of 5 smaller startups, and they each have their own manager. So they bank resources, they bank staff, and I then worked for 3 of those startups. And it was through that experience I really got the buzz of, startup life. I really loved how, it's a very millennial thing of me to say, but I could see the impact I was making. But I could, when I first joined the team, the platform we were working on had 2,000 users, and by the time I left, it was well over 10,000.
Brilliant.
So I love that whole aspect of it. I come from a family business background myself. My family have an ice cream business on the North Coast that's been operating since 1911. So I was very used to the entrepreneurial aspect of life. However, this whole new digital world where we were building something but maybe not seeing much money, it was the building for acquisition model. Whereas I'm used to, I make a scone for 50p, I sell you it for £1.50, I make £1 and I put it in my pocket, So I was sort of used to that way of life. This really opened my eyes. So I came back into my final year and I was approached by a startup founder in Belfast who was at that time developing an app. And he said, I saw all the things you were doing in Paris, you've been in my network for a while, why don't you come on board with me in this team? So at that point, he already had 4 people on the team, one of which was an already sort of established blogger in the Northern Ireland community. She was about my age, we had a lot of the same interests, and we just got on really well. And so she started taking me to all her blogging gigs and her events, and I was like her new +1, and I was loving life, going to all these things. And one day we went along to this sort of restaurant or takeaway food place, and they had asked her to come along and do a bit of a review and post content on her social media in exchange for the product. So that was fine. She invited me to go with her, and I did. And then at the end, I watched the owner hand her cash in a napkin. And I went, is there no one managing you? And she was like, no, well, there's a lot of us bloggers here in Northern Ireland,
Yeah.
But it's all very casual and informal at the minute.
Okay.
There's management agencies in Dublin and in London and all around, but not so much here yet.
Okay.
I went, right, let's change that.
Yeah. Well, that's great. So that was the start of it then. And you're like, right, okay. And I do think it's definitely the way forward. People need to be more taking things a lot more serious. And, you know, sometimes I work with influencers as well in Bankhouse. We work with them, and sometimes we have people approach and say, would you could we use the influencer that works there? And what they're trading them for is maybe worth to them maybe £25 or like £100. And I said, look, there's more value. They're adding more value than just like 20 quid. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we maybe have to look at something different.
Absolutely,
So it is about putting a bit of a tag on that and saying, look, this is how much this is worth value wise.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we just wanted to formalise the industry a little bit and, you know, look at it more as content creation and, you know, building your community, getting your brand out there. And, you know, there's so many different aspects involved in social media influencer. It's becoming far less about, you know, I'm going to send a product out to an influencer and hope to God they post it.
Yeah.
You know?
And what do you think about, so it's funny whenever you say about, you know, you have your whenever with your ice cream, you have a markup and you said that's my profit. You know, I'm very much like that as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's almost, I feel like it's kind of old school. I don't think it's hard now whenever you look at influencers or getting a post and then it's taking a photograph. So it's hard to sort of get that, you know, where the value is in it, how much you can charge for it yourself. I do think that everything needs to be taken where you need to know what your break even is in business. And then you need to say, okay, this is what I have to hit to break even. And here's my profit. And how do I multiply my profit then from there?
Yeah.
So do you think having that background has helped you sort of come in and be able to say, well, know your worth or understand a bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like because my family has been in business for so long, one, they don't really understand what I do, but that doesn't really matter because I've had all that learning from them about how, you know, you make money and, you know, what X is worth and what you need to be getting to get Y, and is that worth your time? You know, my mum and dad have always told me, revenue is vanity, profit is sanity.
Okay.
And it's something I've always tried to remember. And I know that there's some business owners I talk to and they're saying, oh, you know, well, okay, so we're going to do this and, well, you know, then I need to look and make sure that I'm getting my return. And I went, look, I completely understand. I come from a very traditional background of, you know, you get X for Y and you need to see what you're making off that and X, Y, Z. So I understand. And you can nearly see the relief in their face because they know I'm not just another like social media, you know, a lot of them think that nothing is traceable and it's trackable, and I'm like, no, it is trackable and you can see your return, and this is how we're going to work here. So how can you see the return, right, as a business owner? Because so many people come in and say, okay, I'm going to put money into people of influence, influencers, whatever it may be, but I don't know if I done that before, it didn't work for me, I didn't get anything back from it. Do you know, how can people make the right choices, or what do people need to look out for? Well, I suppose it also depends on, you know, what you value and what your objectives are. So that's kind of where we start with every business owner we work with. We're like, okay, what are your objectives here? You know, is it getting your brand out here? Is it hard sales? So for example, we all know about stories, how there's swipe ups, you know, they're directing people to your website straight away. And you can see how many people have gone onto your website based off the back of that influencer content. There's also sort of standard things like discounts, codes are used, affiliate links and all that sort of thing. But as well as that, you're thinking, okay, well, how many people has this content reached? How many times has this content been seen? You know, different things like that and different insights that help you understand the value that influencer content is bringing to your business.
For me, like we very much work on the other side of things, where we work on like the sales funnels and the lead generation campaign, where I can put in £100 and see how much that £100 has made back for me. Where I really see the value is for influencer marketing is whenever we have all our stuff in place, right? So we have like our sales funnel built, our website built, all our tracking codes are in place with Facebook, Instagram, Google, whatever that may be, or email capture. Then whenever you move into like influencer marketing and you have someone swipe up and land on that page, that's whenever I feel that we get the most out of it as marketers for lead gen, because we've got all this new data that's picked up on the pixel that we're able to like retarget to. So I think sometimes business owners, whenever they think, oh, I didn't really work with me with influence and marketing, did you have all that other stuff in place? Were you able to not only get that one head of that, were you able to harvest that data and bring it right back in and retarget to that person? And I think it's like, if you look at an apple pie, you know, you need all the ingredients.
Absolutely. And that's why we love working with businesses who maybe work with another marketer, have a marketer in-house, that do all that stuff in the background and can really understand that. Because for us, influencer marketing is about taking your business and your marketing to maybe the next level and incorporating another method of marketing into what you already do.
Just your thing as well, I want to pick up on in France. It's so funny because whenever I started Bankhouse Media, I didn't actually mean to go and have loads of clients. I'd done them to market my own businesses. We just had a chat off camera there, and I talked about a few of the things that I've done in the past out in the States with acting, having an acting school. And Francesca said to me, what I need to get a list here of what it is that you do. But the thing is, I actually opened Bankhouse because I wanted to market my own companies. And when we've got a new company that's launching in the next 2 months, which I'll talk to you about after this as well, actually, because it's a product. And what I'm going to do is, that was always the case. And I love that model. Can you just talk a bit more about that whenever you were in France and what you learned from that process?
There weren't really departments. It was like 5 small startups. And, we were coming on as interns because our resources were limited and they were literally built from the ground companies. So what I really learned from that experience was that, I got to try a little bit of everything. So, I was a salesperson, I was the marketing person, I was a business development person, I was a content creator, I was a blog writer. So that's why that experience was so valuable to me, because I did a little bit of everything. But it really got you back down to the basics of startup life and in business. Okay, what do we need to build a business, and simply how do you start doing that? Because I feel like sometimes you can look at a business and look at all the activities and get a little bit overwhelmed by maybe all the processes that they have built by that stage. However, if you really go back to the beginning, you're thinking, okay, well, it maybe just started by a few messages. And I was an intern sitting in an office, like sending messages to people, that has now turned into this massive business development process with sales funnels, etc., etc., etc. So I found that it actually made the whole feeling of starting your own business a little bit less overwhelming, knowing that, most of these companies that you look at now, they all started somewhere.
Yeah. And if there's a business owner out there at the minute, right, and they're kind of thinking, okay, I feel that I could maybe get value from this, what should they do? What is that business owner should do? I know that obviously they should seek professional advice, from like yourself or an ad agency or whatever, a digital marketing company. So what exactly could their first step be, or what could they do themselves before they even engage with anyone else?
So, before they come to us, my ideal customer would have a clear vision of their goals and objectives for the campaigns. They might have a clear idea of the type of person they want to work with. They might have a clear idea of, what they envisage that influencer doing, or how they would like their product or their brand promoted. Ideally they would have their Instagram and their website to a level where the customer journey is clear, because ultimately what an influencer will do is drive traffic to your profiles and to your website. So if your Instagram profiles, your social media profiles, and your website isn't to a level where customers are easily going through a journey, then it's quite difficult to see the return. Because the last thing you want is 1,000 people being driven to your website and no one buying anything. Because at that point, that's not the influencer's fault. They've done their bit. You need to think, okay, well, what is it in my, UX and my UI and my website that prevented them from going over the line and buying my product? So ideally they would have their stuff set up.
All of our customers, that's the first thing we do is a web audit, just to go through and all their sales funnels, and you wouldn't believe how many, their checkouts don't work. Their phone number doesn't work, their call to actions don't work. One day I sat down with a client, and he said to me, I need you to look at my customer journey, and we put him into Google, and his ad came up first, and I just clicked on it. I just clicked on the ad and went to look and see what the sales page is, and he cracked up. He said, that's just cost me £10. It's cost me £10 for a lead. And I says, dude, you chill out for a start, like that's fine. We have to go and look at the next page. Now that it's up and I've clicked it, let's have a look at it. And his page had a map on it, had call to action, phone number, everything. And I said, look, your sales page is too noisy here, and you have to go through that, even if it does cost you that amount of money at a time, or purchasing a ticket. Or I purchased so many of my clients' products, same thing. And it's like, skin products, anything at all. But we're all about that. It's all about your customer journey and all about your website. We really promote, like, websites are your most valued member of staff. I say that, like, 20, and like they need to know everything about your business. They need to check people out the checkout, and then you'd be ready for all this other stuff, for paid campaign, for influencing campaigns.
And I suppose you asked me about what would our ideal client be. Is somebody that's open to feedback. You know, there's times I've gone on to a customer's website, and I always say, look, free of charge, if you come on board with us, I'll do a bit of an audit of your website and see if there's anything you can improve on, or anything that would put myself off buying as a customer. And you know, there's nothing worse than when someone says, oh, but like, you know, no, or XYZ, and I'm like, this is my experience of me acting as a customer, you know, please listen. Because you'll find that a lot of businesses that want to use influencers, many of them want to target people like me, so girls in their 20s. So I'm in the position where I can turn around and say, I am your customer. Yeah. Do you know?
Well, that's it. And but look, we are very brutal with that, and we're like, look, if you don't make these changes, we can't be responsible on the other side. There was one, you know, an experience that we had where we were driving traffic, and they insisted on making the landing page themselves. And I said, okay, no worries. And we would never put a phone number or anything that would take somebody off that page on there. And they were getting so many clicks to the page. And I was looking through going, how have they not got any bookings? You know, how have they not got it? I just don't understand. This offer is amazing. They're getting so many clicks to it. But then whenever I went on the page myself, and I was like, why did that number pop up? Because the number came up as you scroll down, which I hadn't noticed originally. The guys they insisted on it being there, but whenever we went through, so many people had hit the call button and actually rang and booked over the phone. So I was thankful that the company actually got sales.
Yeah.
But it is just that you got to be so cautious of every single thing that's on your website and on your sales page, because otherwise you could be wasting so much money.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then blame the agency, the influencer, whatever it is, you know, on the other side of things.
Yeah, there's nothing worse.
It's good that you can show data as well, though. So what about reporting them? So some people will say, I'm not using the influencer, it's not trackable, it's like, you know, what would you say to that person?
I mean, that's the famous question with influencer marketing, isn't it? It's like, you know, how do I know my ROI? Why can't I tell exactly how many sales I've got off this? I mean, so we can tell you how many people that influencer has directed to your website through swipe up link, through stories. We can tell you how many people that content has reached. We can tell you how many impressions that content has had. We can tell you how many people have clicked onto your Instagram profile as a direct result of that influencer content. We can tell you how many people have viewed a hashtag if it was viewed in content. You know, yes, we cannot tell you unless there was a discount code used, or an affiliate link, for example. If that customer actually bought that piece of clothing or that item as a direct result of that influencer content. But as well, we do like to say to our customers, okay, well, how many times have you asked your customer where they heard about you? Or how many times have you asked your customer, you know, how did you hear about us? Yeah. You know, and there's that sort of thing as well. But there are definitely pieces of data that we can give to you that will be able to let you know what you've received from that content and from your investment.
I know if there's somebody going for a really big paid one, you could make them at individual sales
absolutely, and we have had clients that have done that, and they've made a specific landing page for that influencer's content, and that has worked quite well as well. There's some people that maybe some of our clients maybe wouldn't have the capabilities to do that, but we definitely have recommended that in the past and continue to do so.
It is good. Campaigns that are out there, you know, what is open to businesses that they can jump in and do?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is probably one of our favourite aspects of the job, you know, taking on a new client and thinking, okay, let's think outside the box. How can we put out a campaign that's going to be really creative and really engaging for the consumers? So there's a standard ones you see every day. There are competitions, there are discount codes, there are lots of educational campaigns, and we say that's one of the really valuable things about influencers is that you can get a real person coming on and talking about your product. So for example, this is brilliant for the likes of skincare, because they can come on and actually give a rundown of everything that's brilliant about this skincare product, about the ingredients in it and why they're good. Because at the end of the day, if you put up a piece of content, a video, a lot of it is just writing. And how many people are going to read everything? Whereas they might be more inclined to actually sit and listen to somebody. So we love those sorts of campaigns. There are so many different features on Instagram and online now that can be used to make content engaging. And that's what's so good about influencers, that you're always engaging with a person. And that's why they're so good, is because influencers do engage with their audience so often. And if your product and your brand is in front of that, then even better. So yeah, it's so varied in the type of things you can do. But as I say, that's one of our favourite things is trying to think outside the box and think of creative ways of using influencers that are slightly different to the stuff you may see every day.
And whenever sort of a business owner sits down for a consultation with you guys, whenever you start to talk about this, are they aware of, like, are business owners aware of the opportunities out there with it?
Usually not. You know, they are getting contact off the basis of what they have seen in the past and maybe other businesses or competitors using influencers and you know, putting up the odd photo or the odd story. But you know, we love when a client's saying, oh God, I never thought about that, or you know, I never thought about that person, or can you do that? And we're like, yeah, you can do that, and you know, that would work really well for you, or you know, we can try it out and see how it goes. So there's definitely a lot of things that business owners maybe aren't aware that can happen online that ultimately result in really good results for them.
So we've been talking loads about like the benefits for a business owner, and I can see like loads just by driving traffic, making sure that everybody gets onto the picking up on the pixel and onto that landing page and sales page, retargeting to them. It's amazing. But what are you looking for in an influencer? So you obviously represent influencers. There's people out there that buy followers. There's people out there that, you know, run different competitions that maybe are a bit edgy. What is your ideal influencer?
So somebody who has an engaged following, who sort of has a good relationship with their followers. So that would mean engaging with them often and knowing what their followers like to see. Authenticity is key. You know, we would never ask an influencer to promote something that they didn't like or didn't want to promote, you know. So authenticity is a huge one. Good engagement, obviously I've sort of mentioned that before, but that comes up time and time again, and it's actually a mistake that business owners make quite often. They'll come on to us and they say, we want somebody with 100,000 followers. And I'm like, well, did you know that somebody maybe with half that following has a much higher engagement rate, and that maybe might be a better fit for your brand? You might see more return on that influencer. So I think that's a really important thing to remember is, you know, don't always look at that follower number. Yes, you know, if you have certain targets or you maybe want to work with somebody of that following, that's great, but just make sure they have an engagement rate that is just as impressive. What else would it for an influencer? I mean, somebody who's true to themselves and true to their style. Somebody who maybe doesn't work with every single brand in the world. You know, we don't like coming onto an influencer's page and saying it absolutely cluttered with ads that maybe aren't the right fit for them, or maybe you can tell they're not as engaged with because it comes across and ultimately it doesn't really benefit the brand. So there's quite a few things, but it goes on a case by case basis, and with every single client we work with, we make sure that we're pairing them up with the best influencers for them.
And what about then, would you say that like a young up and coming Instagrammer that sort of thinks, okay, I'd love to give this a bash, or I have say 7,000 followers and people are engaging with me and messaging me all the time, and it is something that they could maybe look into to run as a business? Like what do you say to that person?
So for anybody that's maybe an up and coming influencer or wants to get more into blogging or wants to grow their community, what I would say is, you know, focus on your style, focus on your niche. You know, if you love fashion and you love blogging about fashion, keep blogging about fashion, create high quality content, work on your content, you know, provide value, try and figure out what is getting the most engagement on your profile. You know, for example, if an outfit pic that you've maybe produced really well is getting really high engagement each time, you know, keep producing that style of content because it's obviously the content that your followers like to see. Continue engaging with your audience, answer their questions, engage with them on stories, do polls, do Q&As, let your followers get to know you as a person, and don't try and hide behind this picture perfect, I need to be this certain blogger, I need to look like this, I need to talk like this, I need to wear this, I need to buy this. Do you do you, because that's what your followers have come to love. And if you start edging away from that, you will lose engagement, you'll lose interest. So be your authentic self. Try and improve your content production, produce high quality content, but at the same time, if you want to come on and act the leg, if your followers are engaging with them, do that too. Do you know? And track these things, you know. What gets tracked gets measured, gets improved.
What's working,
exactly. So that's the advice I would give.
I know, and also like people do have an opportunity to open their own businesses now as well. Like, so even building their following, and then even if they didn't influence for other brands, they could also move into, doing the stuff for themselves. Do you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely. And we've seen amazing use cases of that in the last few months. We've had influencers that we work with regularly starting up their own brands, and in comparison to brands that are maybe producing a very similar content but are coming up from nothing, the influencer product is flying because they already have that engaged and loyal audience who are then becoming loyal and engaged customers, which is perfect.
I know it does. I've partnered with some influencers and built businesses with them, and I think like it's always better than starting off. For me, I don't have a massive I would never want to be an influencer, to be honest, and show my whole life on TV. It's just, or on screen or anything. It just wouldn't be my style. I actually think it's kind of hard work. To put the camera on, document everything. Yeah. And it is full on, like creating content, photographing their meals, going to the next step. But I do see the value in it, and I do love partnering with someone and bringing what I can do to the table and saying like, right, okay, well, I know that I can do all this side. They can bring out the audience or whatever, and it's it does work out really well.
Imagine being in heaven.
It genuinely is. So that was brilliant. Is there anything else, any other tips that you can give to anybody coming up then, or what? I now that you're sitting here, I think like there's so many different things that other people might want to ask, because it is like for business owners.
Practice what we preach. I've just said influencers come on, do Q&A. What are we doing?
I know we should have actually.
We should have had this live Q&As in. Yeah. People probably would be saying, "Get this girl off. She talks with nonsense."
No, but the thing is, like, it is so uncertain for people as well. Like, and there is major value in it. I know there is, because I've seen sales coming in from it. I'm massive, like I always advocate for like paid traffic, because I can actually see once I put in 100 quid and I get out X amount, then it's like brilliant, because we can, but as I said, if it's one big pot of whatever, all the ingredients are in there, and I definitely think it's something really valuable having an influencer there.
But paid traffic and influencer content don't need to be completely two separate things.
Yeah.
We say, okay, well, if we build usage rights into these influencer contracts, then what you can do is you can use that content to put ads behind and use that as a paid ad.
Yeah.
And then it means that you're going to have a familiar face. You're going to have somebody with influence on your ad that ultimately you've used to drive paid traffic to your website, so they don't have to work completely in isolation.
Oh no, as I said off camera, which you will see after this, like I definitely want to look and see who's all on your books. I'll show you all of my clients and see which way that we can actually collaborate and say like, okay, because I do all we ever want is leads. Do you know what I mean? Like, as for my clients, all I ever want is traffic and leads.
This is any business.
So thank you so much for coming in, Francesca. So where will people find you? How does anyone find you?
So you can get me online at www.vavainfluence.com. That's my website. But you can also connect with me on LinkedIn. So my name on LinkedIn is Francesca Morelli. I'm all on it all the time, really sadly. It's a bit pathetic, but yeah.
LinkedIn is brilliant at the minute.
I love it.
It is really, really brilliant at the minute.
Hands up, love LinkedIn.
Yeah, and it has changed. I like that it's a bit more personal now. There's a bit more like about personality to it. You can actually, I don't feel bad posting some of the stuff up there that I wouldn't have posted a while ago.
I know, and I'm a big advocate for not trying to be like LinkedIn-y. So I know a lot of my friends are really intimidated posting on LinkedIn, and they're almost like a different person.
Yeah.
They call it like their professional self. Well, they don't call it that, but like I call it that. But like I put like emojis on my things and all, like and have a bit of a laugh, because otherwise like people just think they're talking to some corporate robot.
One of my friends that I met over in Australia, she was crazy. And like, Jesus, 10, 15 years ago, I don't know how long it was ago. But see, whenever I see her LinkedIn profile, I laugh every time. It's like black and white, and it's like, shoulder to one side. It's like, you're crazy. Do you know what I mean? I think you need to see more of her personality on her LinkedIn, because she is so funny and she is crazy.
Absolutely. Like I do a wee Friday video. So every Friday I put up a video, and it's you would cringe, Matthew, because it's so like unprofessional. It's literally a selfie of me on my phone being like, hi, that's what happened this week.
I'm not. I'm all about that, because I think that when, with Bankhouse Productions, whenever we done like a lot of video, and we done all TV commercials, and we done a lot of corporate video, and people were spending a lot of money on video. This is back before even Facebook Live was a thing, so then Facebook Live came out, and it changed the quality of it. It changed the quality that was acceptable, a bit more, shaker camera. Then Snapchat came, and it just like wiped the floor with professional video, because I still think you need professional video on your website, and they're brilliant for testimonials. But with Snapchat and now Instagram stories, they've just changed what is acceptable. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and thank God.
Yeah, and even we've started now YouTube Shorts as well.
Oh, cool.
So we're posting all our reels on Shorts, and some of them are doing really, really well on YouTube.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You know what? I actually, the other day, a couple of Fridays ago, I made my Friday video on TikTok. And then I posted it on LinkedIn, and I was like, I have just maxed out like Gen Z.
Yeah. Oh no, that's it. You take that one piece, you should write that into a blog, and then that'll go into an email, and then it'll go out to your email list. Now there's loads of things. Well, thank you so much. I think there was a lot of value given there today. So I really do appreciate you coming in for a chat. And I look forward to connecting with you more.
Yes, likewise. Thank you.